What's up, guys? Kamikaze Fox coming to you from SRL Season 4, Round 8 in China. This is F1 2018 on the PS4 platform. We've already got some guys chiming in on the live chat. We're going to do an 18-minute qualifying session, 50% race, guaranteed to be epic as all the races have been this year so far. We're going to get into that a little bit here in a minute. I'm going to run down the driver lineup, see who's racing today, and talk about what happened last time out at round 7 at Singapore. Very interesting race that was. And we'll get into that in just a moment. As we wait for the game. So here we go, 18 minutes on the clock here at China, and it looks like we've got some clouds rolling in. Weather could be a factor. 15 drivers today, starting with Francis McGinn, DT Thofi, who we did not know who that was last time out. That is actually Tim Hofnagel. He made his debut last round out, finished 10th, picking up a championship point. Dion Stahl, Jan Holm, Bart Catalda, Sam Brandt, Colin Higgins, Jorge Correa, Jo Marusic, Rennie van der Stap, Ivan Brito, Cameron Weston Edwards, Sandro Dulius, Thunes van Houten, and Nick van Gelder, rounding out your 15 drivers. And it looks like Jan Holm is the first one to leave the pits in his Sauber. And Jan Holm has struggled quite a bit this year, unfortunately. He's got 4 DNFs in 7 rounds. So he'll be looking to try and at least finish today's race, maybe hopefully put some points on the board. His teammate is Cameron Weston Edwards, and Edwards has also struggled this year. He's still in the pits, but he has struggled this year as well, quite mightily. Has not been up to his form. Edwards missed last round out. No, he finished 7th last time out. One of his few finishes that he's had this year. Jan Holm had a DNF at Singapore. Unfortunately, he got called out. I believe it was Abu Dhabi. No, it wasn't Abu Dhabi. He had crashed at round 6 in Australia, and it was Bahrain that he got called out by Jorge Correa's car coming back on track. Made contact with him, ended his day there. See a lot of the guys now starting to go out on track. And a little bit of a mixture. We got Jorge Correa's out on mediums. Got some guys on the ultra soft, some guys on the softs, but Correa is going to be one to watch. Currently only fitted with the medium tires on. He has yet to leave the track. Jan Holm is starting his first hot lap of the day. He should be the first driver to set a time. So Jan Holm, gentleman driver, doesn't cause a lot of controversy. Unfortunately, like I said, he's got 4 DNFs in 7 rounds. Not all of them his fault. But nonetheless, he was a byproduct back at round 4 in Bahrain of a crash with Jorge Correa. Subsequently, Correa ended up getting a qualifying penalty for his next round out for what had happened. Unsafe return onto the track. We got a caution in sector 3 already. Jump on board. You see he's clicking there, almost 210 miles an hour down the very long backstretch here, and a big lockup as he heads into the hairpin. See one of the Ferraris there. Runs a little wide coming out of the last corner, and he's going to come across and set the first time at a 1:33.795. And Foons Van Houten just went to the top of the charts with a 1:31.403. We'll pick up Dion Stahl, one of the two Scuderia Ferraris. Dion Stahl's actually had a pretty decent season so far. He does have 2 DNFs. He actually had a DNF last time out at Singapore, but still managed to finish the car 6th. Everybody else behind him was a lap down. Runs very wide coming out of there as he gets ready to head on to the backstretch. Rennie van der Staap has just set a time at a 1:31.677 with Bart Patelda 1:31.759. Nick Van Gelder jumps to the top of the charts now, 1:31.173, 3/10 quicker than Foons Van Houten. And Van Gelder was back to his old form last time out, finishing on the podium for the 4th time this year in 3rd spot. Putting himself back in contention, and around goes Dion Stahl, and he is done for the day. Dion Stahl will not set a time, unfortunately. And Sandro Dulius goes to the top of the charts, the first driver to crack into the 130s with a 1:39.24. And we are definitely going to be talking about him. He won round 7 at Singapore. It was his first win since season 2. And it was actually his first podium of the year as well. So, welcome back to the top step after last round. Definitely jumped him in the points, not quite in championship contention yet. Your big 3 are Nick Van Gelder, Francis McGinn, and I believe Vasilios Veliciotis. You see the times are starting to roll in now. We've got a couple of guys we haven't talked about yet, but Colin Higgins is 7th quickest, Joman Rusic 8th, Cameron Weston Edwards 9th, Jan Holmes' time, he was the first one to set a time. He's still 10th quickest. Jorge Correa and Ivan Brito. Correa is only a 1:34.525. Did he come out on the mediums, I wonder? And Correa did set his time on medium tires. Interesting strategy. Correa's been known in the past to use some interesting race strategies. Oh, and you saw one of the Salvers going around there. That was Cameron Weston Edwards. Just lost the back end in front of Sandro Dulius. And they almost collide heading into pit road. So Correa's out on the mediums. He's the only driver on the medium tires. He's been known to use some interesting race strategies in the past to help get him through the field. He actually picked up a podium last year after a very long time due to an interesting race strategy, kind of what he's doing now at the mediums. Ran a very long first stint, and it subsequently paid off for him towards the end of the race. He does improve his time, 1:33.643. He gets out of the 1:34, is only 11th quickest so far. The only 2 drivers get to set a time, well, I should say 3, but Francis McGinn, who's heading back into the pits and gets to set a time. And Sam Brandt, who looks like he's getting ready to come across the line now, and he is 10th quickest. So the only drivers to not set a time now is Francis McGinn and Dion Stahl. Dion Stahl will be starting at the back of the field due to his crash that we saw a couple minutes ago. 10 minutes left to play in this session. And it looks like Brandt is off the pace. Pick up Ivan Brito. Looks like he's off the pace in Sector 2. He was 3/10 off of his best time. Driving the number 45 at Williams. Very wide coming out of that corner as they get ready to head out onto the backstretch. Creeping into the 200 mile an hour. You saw a trap speed on Jan Holmes' car was about 208. And looks like not even 200 miles an hour for Ivan Brito here. and he heads into the pits. So Ivan Brito has been struggling a lot this year. He actually leads the league in DNFs with 5 out of 7 rounds, unfortunately for him. Pick up Rennie Vanderstapp, who has quietly been putting points on the board this season. Been finishing 4th a couple times. Definitely a good mid-pack guy. Quietly fights for podium spots. Was running a pretty interesting strategy at Singapore, but was unable to get to that podium, unfortunately. See if he can put up a time. 8 minutes left to play in the session. So far, Sandro Dulius is the only driver to break the 130s. Nick Van Gelder has come close, 131, 173, 2/10 off. We'll try and keep an eye on him as he comes out of the pits. Currently looking like he's doing another different setup, possibly. And Tim Hoofnagel, 4th quickest with a 131.559. Van Gelder coming out on his outlap now. Going to pick up Foons Van Houten real quick here. So far, 3rd quickest. He's in Sector 2. Runs a little wide coming out of that corner. Oh, and look at this. Rennie Vanderstapp, who we were just talking about, 138.56 to the top of the charts. That was unexpected by Rennie. Rennie hasn't had a pole all year. And now look at this. Bart Catelda, back to his old form, 134.39. Catelda is your season free champion. He rejoined the league back at round 6 in Australia, which was fitting since that's where he picked up his first win last season and went on to win the championship. Unfortunately, he missed the first 5 rounds. He wins Australia. He struggled mightily at Singapore with tire temperatures and gave up basically on the opening couple of laps because tire temperatures were so bad. He called it a day. He couldn't find the grip in the car. And he was the first driver, I shouldn't say the first driver, he was the second driver to drop out of the race behind Ivan Brito. Sandro Dulius is on his outlap, as is Nick Van Gelder. Now, Van Gelder's going to come across the line now, start a hot lap. Let's see what Van Gelder can get done. Heads into the very tight 1-2 complex. A big, long, tight right-hander into a nice, tight left-hander. Ooh, drops the right side tires in the grass just a little bit. Ooh, tries to get the power down. Looks like the car snapped a little bit. Snap oversteer, caught it. And now look at this. Francis McGinn, 133.51. He was on a flyer. The caution's in Sector 2 and 3. Hop on board with Van Gelder in the Red Bull. Runs a little wide coming out of there. Most cars will go 4 off, I'm sure, during the race. It's an easy spot to get called out on for corner cutting and pushing the track limits. Now the big sweeping right-hander that leads you out onto the very long backstretch. Hop on board with him. Breaking that 200-mile-an-hour mark, 208, 210. Looks like almost 211 before he's got to jump on the binders. Oh, and the back end kicks out, and around goes Van Gelder. So much for that hot lap. We'll pick up Sandro Dulius, who was right behind him. And Dulius is going to come across the line. Can he improve his time and his position? 134.343. He was way off his pace that time. Foons Van Houten is on his out lap, as is Tim Hoofnagel. Pick up Francis McGinn, 133.51. He set one hot lap. So Francis McGinn, one of the big three, him, Bart Catalda, Vasilios Belasiotis, they've all picked up wins this year. Francis McGinn actually picked up his first win back in round 2 in Austria. I'm sorry, he picked up his first pole in Austria, but his first win was at round 3 at Sochi. And since then, Francis has gone on to pick up another win and a couple of more podium finishes. And Marusic is heading into the pits. So Foons Van Houten's in Sector 2. He should be on a hot lap as we speak. 3 minutes left to play. Does anybody have anything for Francis McGinn? 4 drivers have cracked the 130 barrier. Francis McGinn, Bart Catalda, Rennie van der Stappen, and Sandro Dulius. He was the first one to do it with a 130.9. But 7/10 difference between him and the pole time right now. The only one I think that might be able to give it a shot would be Bart Catalda. Bart Catalda, he's been in 2 rounds this year. We talked about it earlier. He won Australia, DNF at Singapore. But in both of those cases, he picked up the pole position. So he's got 2 pole positions to his name already. So he's 2 for 2. Can he make it 3 for 3, get 3 poles in a row in 3 rounds? You see Cameron Weston Edwards is 6th quickest. He is on his out lap. Foons Van Houten comes across, 131.122 to 5th quickest. Cautions in Sector 3, all over the place. And Nick Van Gelder is on his out lap. He's going to give it another go. He'll probably come across the line with just enough time to do 1 hot lap. Same with a lot of these guys. This is all going to come down to a last-ditch effort. McGinn, Catalda, van der Stappen, Dulius. And Tim Hofnagel has retired. Looks like he may have had it off. I saw the cautions in Sector 3 flying. But all these guys are on out laps now. The only one that's not on an out lap, person is on a timed lap, would be Ivan Burrito, and he's struggled. He's down in 12th. And Burrito will come across with enough time to do 1 more hot lap if he wants. 131.728, that's going to get him 10th quickest. Good effort there. McGinn is on his hot lap. Bart Catalda, he's on his out lap. Looks like van der Stappen is on. Looks like he might be starting a hot lap. You hear him trying to get the power down. He's out on the ultra softs. What can Rennie do? See, Foons Van Houten has come across the line. He'll be 5th quickest, 131. Some of these other guys not going to be able to set a time. He's 5th quickest so far. Rennie down to the hairpin. Does he have anything for the top 3? I don't think that he does. It's going to be close. 131.024. He's off. Sandro Dulius going around and crashes into the barrier. He's going to be done for the day. Bart Catalda struggling to get out of the hairpin. Catalda's going to come across the line. 130.171. Currently your provisional pole sitter, Francis McGinn, still coming down the backstretch. Does Francis McGinn have anything for him? McGinn hard on the binders, coming down into the hairpin, trying to get the power down as he comes out of it. Oh, runs very wide coming out of that corner. McGinn's going to come across. It looked like he might have gone 129. Francis McGinn, first place, takes pole position from Bart Catalda. Bart Catalda had it for a second, but McGinn comes across the line. He was the only driver to break into the 129s. Unbelievable hot lap from him. So there's your starting lineup. 129.693, Francis McGinn, Bart Catalda, Rennie Vanderstapp third quickest, Sandro Dulius fourth, Foons Van Guten fifth, Nick Van Gelder couldn't get it done sixth, Jorge Correa seventh, Cameron Weston Edwards eighth, Tim Hofnagel is ninth, Yoma Rusic rounds out the top 10, Ivan Brito, Colin Higgins, Sam Brandt, Jan Holm, and Dion Stahl, who did not set a time because of his crash on his outlap. That is going to be your starting lineup. So congratulations to Francis McGinn, as McGinn picks up his actually McGinn's sixth pole position of the year. And actually, I believe I was wrong about Bart Catalda having 2 poles this year. Actually, Francis McGinn had the pole back in Australia. Bart Catalda picked up his first pole last round out. And look at this, the clouds are rolling in during qualifying, and the great equalizer has showed up. The rain is here, but is it here to stay? So McGinn picks up his 6th pole position of the year. So the drivers struggled last round out at Singapore because of high temperatures, very low traction for the tires, and now they're going to struggle again with traction because of the rain. And Francis McGinn, coming off of his 6th pole position, he'll be looking to take the win today. Same thing with Bart Catalda. Rennie Vanderstapp looking to get on the podium today. He's on the intermediates, 3rd quickest. Sandro Dulius coming off of his first win in more than 2 years. Can he pick up another one this year? Foons Van Guten be looking to put some points on the board, hopefully pick up a podium. Nick Van Gelder was back to his old form. He got his 4th podium of the year last round out, but it was his first podium since round 3 at Sochi. Jorge Correa starting 7th. Whatever strategy he was going to try and run was probably destroyed because of the rain. Cameron Weston Edwards has struggled all year and will be looking just to finish the race and put some points on the board for Sauber. Tim Hofnagel will be starting 9th. He got a championship point his last time out. Can he do it again? And Yoma Rusic, quietly been putting points on the board. Not a high finisher, but he'll be looking to do it again today. Ivan Brito will be starting 11th, and with 5 DNFs this year, he'll be looking just to finish the race. Colin Higgins, one of the fan favorites. Hopefully he can crack his way into the top 10. Sam Brandt started off tough this year with very low finishes. The only points he had for the first couple of rounds of the season was due to the fastest laps. He finally started putting points on the board. He's back to his old form. But can he climb his way through the field to break into the points? And Jan Holm struggling this year as well. He'll be looking to put some points on the board as well. And Dion Stahl crashed out in qualifying. The Ferrari number 2 driver, who was the Ferrari number 1 driver earlier this year, it looked like. He struggled as of late, got a 6th place finish last time out, but still had a DNF. And he definitely doesn't want to crash out like he did in qualifying. That's going to round out your top 15 drivers. Vasilios Veliciotis, who is not with us today, and Nick Van Gelder both got their 4th podiums of the year. Jorge Correa going to be looking to try and finish this race for sure. Whatever pit strategy he was going to try and run got ruined by the rain, but he's got 3 DNFs in a row, unfortunately. Colin Higgins and Jan Holm both have 4 DNFs apiece. We'll let the grid reset here. Lights are out. Time to run what you brung. Good start by Rennie Vanderstapp. Bad start by Catalda, and he pushes one of the cars. Looks like Funs Van Uten into the grass. Begins to the outside, and Catalda is off the track. Runs very wide, and he's going to drop through the field. Rennie Vanderstapp up to second, all over the back of Francis McGinn. Nick Van Gelder getting pushed to the outside. Look at the start by Cameron Weston Edwards up into third. Colin Higgins into fifth. Sandro Dulius drops all the way to sixth place. And now he's got Jurma Rusic on his inside. Trying to get the power down. And ahead of him, they're 3 wide for the second spot. Cameron Weston Edwards into third spot. Oh, and you see the cars twitching as they come out of that corner. There's a whole gaggle of them behind the top 2. Got a battle for third and fourth there between Edwards and Van Gelder. You've got Higgins working on Sandro Dulius. You've got Catalda, who's fallen all the way down to 7th from the start. Ivan Brito's made his way up to 8th. He's got Jurma Rusic, who was running 6th behind him. Higgins looks like he's going to lose a spot to Catalda now. Francis McGinn starting to pull away. He's a second plus over Rennie Vanderstapp. And look at this, one of the Haas all the way down to the inside. That's Bart Catalda on Sandro Dulius. Got a good run coming out of that corner down the backstretch. Dulius looks like he was going to try a crossover, but it's not going to work. Higgins behind him. One of them, Williams, runs wide back there. That looks like that's Jorge Correa. That was a Mercedes, I'm sorry. Ooh, this on the inside. 2 by 2, they go through the last corner. And it looked like Dion Stahl almost looked like lost the back end of his car again coming out of that last corner. Tim Hofnagel falls in line. We're going to pick up the battle for third here. This is Van Gelder on Edwards. Oh, and look at the back end kick out. Nick Van Gelder is hit and miss when it comes to the rain. He put on quite a display last year at Spa in the wet, where he was earning Drift King as his name that race, and he puts on a move on Cameron Weston Edwards there for third, gets around him. So he put on a display at Spa last year in the wet, but later in the season, when it rained in Mexico, he looked like a noob and couldn't get the car to grip anywhere. Van Gelder moves into third. Vanderstapp still holding the second spot, 2 seconds behind Francis McGinn. And now we've got Bart Catalda. He's going to start working on the back end of Cameron Weston Edwards for the 4th spot. Catalda started second, fell down to 7th on the opening lap as he blew the first corner and ran very wide. Oh, and the back end's kicking out on Catalda's car. And he's going to run wide again. That's going to cost him at least 1 spot almost. And Julius put a move on him here at the end of that backstretch. He doesn't look like he's close enough. Looks like he thought about it, but then thought better of it. Julius played a really smart race last time out. He's a very intelligent driver. He knows when to make the moves. It looks like Jorge Correa just put a move on Ivan Brito to pick up the 7th spot. Julius is still behind Catalda. Looks like Catalda's managed to pull that gap out. Ivan Brito looks like he's trying to come back on Jorge Correa for that 7th spot. Tries to get to the inside. And as these two were fighting it out, Tim Hofnagel starting to creep his way into the picture. Now we're working lap 3. Oh, and Correa's back end kicks out. Look at this Hofnagel to the inside. Nice move. Oh no, and Jan Holmes retired from the session. He was running last. And I'm not sure if he crashed out or if he rage quit. That's going to be another DNF, unfortunately, for Jan Holm. That is going to be his 5th DNF of the year. And Bart Catalda is now caught in the back of Cameron Weston Edwards for the 4th spot. We saw this last time. Cataldo had caught Edwards, but lost the back end of his car. It was actually at this exact spot that he lost it, but he gets a good run coming out of the corner. Now Edwards is going to jump behind him, try and catch a little bit of a slipstream off of him. Cataldo is so fast in the wet. So Cataldo picks up the 4th spot, and he's going to start trying to reel in Nick Van Gelder, who is almost 3 seconds ahead of him. Looks like Van Houten just lost another spot. We're going to pick up Tim Hoffnagel. He's trying to battle it out with Jorge Correa for the 7th spot. You see one of the cars run wide there in the back. Looked like that might have been Dion Stahl in the Ferrari. He's currently 10th, started dead last, so at least he's made his way into the points. Uh-oh, and who was that? That was somebody. That was Ivan Brito, run very wide in turn 1. Hoffnagel closes up under braking big time. That's the corner that he made the pass last time on Brito to pick up that spot. So that might be his money quarter. And it looks like Brito is really struggling back here with some grip. His back end came out on him again. It looks like he's about to lose another spot. That's Foons Van Houten goes around him to pick up the 10th and final points paying spot. Dion Stahl's now worked his way into 9th. Closest battle on track right now is these two. However, Sandro Dulius is starting to reel in Cameron Weston Edwards for the 5th spot. And these two have been racing against each other for a long time. Obviously, Sandro runs the SRL. While there are many SRL leagues, there's only one Sandro Racing League. Now, Cameron Weston Edwards was the league president of IRL, International Racing League. We'll talk about them in a little while, but Edwards has handed over those reins to IRL to Sondre Sauerhog as of this year because he's got other commitments outside of gaming that he needed to take care of so far this year. But these two have been racing against each other. Edwards obviously races in this league. He was racing in IRL. They both run a league. They did an IRL versus SRL race last year at Spa that ended in some controversy. But as they like to put it, they are off-track friends but on-track rivals, and you often find these two racing against each other. And Sandro, again, trying to close in that gap. But here we go. Here's the talk of the town is Bart Cadelda fallen back to 7th, and now he's caught Nick Van Gelder. And Van Gelder's actually caught Rennie Vanderstappen, so you're about to have a 3-way car battle for the 2nd spot. Cadelda has been extremely fast through a lot of these sectors. I think Francis McGinn has the fastest lap so far of the race, but Cadelda, minus his off-track excursion of turn 1 on the opening lap and his off-track excursion on the corner leading out to the backstretch, he's managed to pick his way back through the field. Looking lap 5 of 28, and obviously there is no DRS enabled right now because of the weather. And this is where Cadelda's been making up a lot of his time getting that power down. He's in the slipstream of Van Gelder's car. Van Gelder tries to take the line away, but Cadelda's going to go all the way down to the inside. They almost touch wheels. Who's going to get the power down? Van Gelder's going to run wide. He's going to have to give up the spot. I think if he tried to get the power down, I think he knew the back end would come around on him. So Cadelda picks up the 3rd spot, and now he's going to start trying to reel in Rennie Vanderstappen. You see the back end kick out off of the curbs on Cadelda's car. Now, how long can Rennie Vanderstappen hold off Bart Cadelda, charging back through the field? Meanwhile, Francis McGinn has pulled out to a 5-second lead over Rennie Vanderstappen. And it looks like Colin Higgins is going to be the first driver to pit. He's going to pit from 12th. That'll probably, he might come out 13. Ivan Brito's pretty far down the running order and struggling today. Vanderstappen trying to get on that curb and make this track as short as possible. Van Gelder hasn't exactly lost touch with this fight. He's still within a second gap of Rennie van der Staap and Bart Getelde, so Van Gelder's there. He might be able to work his way back into this fight for second. But this is where Getelde's been making his time. He runs a little bit different line around this big sweeping right-hander, and he's able to just close that gap up as he gets in the slipstream with the car in front. We're going to hop on board with him. And all the way down to the inside. Look at this, he's on the grass. To the outside, a big lockup by Getelde. Van der Staap going to hold him off, tries to push him out to the curbs, but now Getelde's got the inside line. Van der Staap made that very hard. You see the back end kick out on Getelde's car as he tries to get that power down. Can he make a move on down into turn one? And he's going to have the preferred line. Oh, but he blows the corner a little bit. Switch back from Rennie van der Staap. And Getelde's going to try and get onto the inside. Look at this thing, bump wheels. He's going to force his way in. And now Van Gelder's there to be a part of this fight. Van der Staap tries to get the power down, back end kicks out a little bit, and now Rennie loses the position, but can he get it back? Or is he in danger of losing it? Oh, and look at this, Rennie gives him the chrome horn, gives him a little bump. I don't like the way you passed me. Tries to give him a little bit of payback. And Getelde now starting to pull away a little bit. And while all this was happening, Francis McGuinness managed to pull out to 7+ seconds, almost 8 seconds ahead of this battle. And it looks like Getelde's going to secure that second spot as he starts to pull away from Rennie van der Staap. So a little bit of back and forth there. I don't think Getelde was happy with the way van der Staap defended his position on the backstretch. And I don't think van der Staap was happy with the way Getelde passed him in turn 2, really forcing his way to the inside. So the question now becomes, can Van Gelder close in that gap and get to that podium? Now, Van Gelder's got 4 podiums this year. He actually opened the season with 3 in a row. Then he went quiet for a little while and struggled, picked up his 4th podium last round out at Singapore. Meanwhile, Rennie van der Staap has yet to score a podium at all this year, unfortunately. However, he has been consistently finishing in the points. Van der Staap was 4th at round 1 in Germany, 6th at round 2 in Austria, 7th at Sochi in round 3, 7th again in Bahrain. Abu Dhabi, he was 4th again. Now in Australia, he did crash out. It was his only DNF of the year was back in Australia. And then he finished 4th again, round 7 in Singapore. So he's still looking for that first podium. And it looks like he's actually pulled the gap on Van Gelder here. But Sandro Dolius is now working on the back end of Cameron Weston Edwards. We saw this battle starting to unfold a few laps ago before we jumped to the battle with Getelde and van der Staap. So Dolius is trying to get to that back bumper of Cameron Weston Edwards. Sandro Dolius within a half a second of Cameron Weston Edwards. Gets in the slipstream. Can he close up the gap to Edwards? Edwards all the way down to the grass. Take away that defensive line. Dolius is not close enough to make a move this time around. But if he could stick with him, he might be able to make that move next time around. He's very easy to get back on the throttle. And look at this. Tim Hoffnagel's starting to creep into the picture here. And Getelde is going to head into the pits, as is Cameron Weston Edwards. So Getelde fought hard to get to that second spot and then just gives it up. It looks like he's going to switch over to another set of intermediates. So now the battle for second becomes Van Gelder and Rennie van der Staap. Meanwhile, Francis McGuinness has pulled out to almost 10 seconds over top of the rest of the field. And how long do you run the intermediates? Oh, and a little bit of a twitch there heading down the hill by Van Gelder's car. And this is actually the window for the intermediates, usually 9 to 12 laps, depending on the distance of the track, but 9 to 12 laps here for the intermediates. Sam Brandt heads into the pits. He's running in 13th. He'll probably come back out in 13th, as Higgins is 30 seconds behind him. Pit stop delta here is about 22 to 24 seconds, depending on how quick you can make the change in the tires. So Bart Catella pitted from second, comes out 8th. He's actually putting a move on Dion Stahl right now to pick up that 7th spot. So Catella will have to work his way through traffic all over again. And it looked like Dion Stahl was running wide there for a second. Yep, Dion Stahl blew that corner, unfortunately. Van Gelder working on Vanderstappen. A lot of vans in this league. Nick Van Gelder, Rennie Vanderstappen. Rennie's going to head into pits, so that's going to put Van Gelder in second spot. We also have a Sven Van Elven, who's not racing with us today, but so Dulius and Rennie head into the pits. That moves Jorge Correa into the third spot. So Jorge, we've talked about his race strategies earlier and how he usually runs a very different strategy from the rest of the field. It's usually pretty interesting to watch and see how it goes. Then we've got Bart Cadelda is going to work his way up to Foons Van Houten. This is for the 4th spot. So Cadelda's strategy was to try and get that undercut. So even though he fell all the way back to 8th, with the guys pitting and he's on fresher tires, he's able to make that undercut work. Tries the crossover move on Van Houten, and that's another van, Foons Van Houten. And Cadelda makes the move for 4th. He's now 2 seconds behind Jorge Correa for the 3rd and final podium spot. Like the rain's starting to slow down a little bit. You see it's still coming down. Oh, look at the Correa. A little bit of a bobble coming off of that last corner onto the backstretch. Cadelda is there. Cadelda's going to try and get to the inside. I thought he would have made a late braking move. Gets the power down, and Cadelda's going to take that 3rd spot away. Correa's going to stay out. Looks like he's starting to struggle with grip, though. With the rain starting to slow down, you see a little break in the clouds there, a little peak of blue skies. Be interesting to see if this race dries out and if there's a crossover between the intermediates to the slicks. And obviously, if that happens, everybody will go for the softest compound. It's going to be ultra soft. So there goes Bart Cadella's back end. Almost came around on him. I'm going to pick up Rennie Vanderstappen now. Pitted from 2nd spot. Oh, look at this. Almost catches up to the back end of Foons Van Houten there. Almost gave him the chrome horn. Oh, the Correa is going around, or Foons Van Houten, I'm sorry, is going around in the Mercedes. He's going to lose a couple of spots now as he falls back to 7th. So that's a gift for Rennie Vanderstappen to pick up 5th. That puts Dion Stahl back into 6th spot. And then we're going to jump into the back because your closest battle on track is between Ivan Brito and Jurma Rusic. It may not be for points, but it's the closest battle we've got going right now. And Brito just wants to finish a race this year. 5 DNFs coming into this round. He puts the crossover move on Marusic. And he's to the inside. They bang wheels a little bit. Brito's got to give way before they run into the grass. Doesn't look like Marusic is done with him. And this backside of the track, we've got Cattell that heads into the pits again. Bart Cattell into the pits. Oh, and he's going to try the crossover. Bart Cattell, the first driver to switch over to softs. And I'm surprised he didn't get on the ultra softs. Actually, Cattell, if he's going to run softs now, he's probably going to try and make this last until the end of the race. Interesting strategy call by Bart Cattell. Looks like he's struggling a little bit as he comes out of the pits. We'll see what happens here as these tires get up to temperature. It looks like some of the other guys are also going to do what Bart Cattell did. So again, Cattell is going to try and use the undercut in this game. You see a lot of the other guys in the back of the field starting to pit to switch over. Brito, Marusic, Colin Higgins, they all pitted. Meanwhile, the battle at the front. Jorge Correa closing back up to Rennie Vanderstappen. Francis McGinn makes his first pit stop of the day from first. And Francis McGinn switches over to medium tires. Interesting strategy call there. Oh, we've got a battle here. This is Cameron Weston Edwards and Sandro Dulius going at it again. These two haven't been able to leave each other's side this whole round. And Tim Hofnagel, and it's a three-way race into the pits. And I get that first one in should be first one out. These guys are in the pits. We're going to pick up Nick Van Gelder. Van Gelder looks like he's out on the mediums as well. So the undercut has worked for Bart Catalda again. He has managed to work his way into third spot. And the strategy that he's using, he is on the soft tire while Van Gelder and Francis McGinn come back out on medium tires. So he is going to have more grip. But for how long? Can he run the softs to the end of the race? Interesting strategy by Catalda. I really want to see how this pans out for him. So a lot of guys on softs and on mediums. Nobody took the ultra softs. And if I had to take a guess, it wouldn't surprise me if Catalda made another pit stop to switch over to the ultra softs towards the end of this race and try that undercut one more time just to see if he can close the gap. We're going to monitor his time. He's 8.7 seconds behind Nick Van Gelder, and Van Gelder is 17, almost 18 seconds behind Francis McGinn. McGinn came in, made his pit stop, and went back out, no problem. Meanwhile, Ivan Brito is working on Sandro Dulius. Dulius struggling. Oh, and he's got no front wing. What has happened to Dulius? He just pitted for mediums, and it looks like he might have run into an issue, and I'm not sure if the issue was with Ivan Brito or not, but no front wing. How far does this drop Sandro down the running? It's very early in the lap, too. He's only just starting sector 2. Runs very wide there. Here comes Marusic. And Yor is closing the gap to Sandro. So that's going to drop Sandro to 11th spot quite easily. He struggles to get around this sweeping right-hander. And Yor Marusic very easily gets to the inside of Sandro. So what has ever happened to Sandro happened very early in this lap. I'm going to imagine coming out of the pits. Might have been a problem with Ivan Brito. Might have been struggling with grip. And that's going to reset the grid a little bit. Colin Higgins now working his way around Sam Brandt. Oh, but Brandt's right there to try and make that move and cut back. Takes the position back from Colin Higgins. This is a battle for 13th. A battle for pride, if you will. Oh no, and Higgins has gone wide as Brandt dived into the pits. So I think that move there called Colin Higgins out a little bit. I don't think he was expecting Sam Brandt to run back into the pits. Why is Sam Brandt back into the pits? Oh, he needs front wing fixed. He might have had an off as well. So the race is unraveled for Sam Brandt and Sandro Dulius. Dulius is all the way down to third. Comes out with a new wing, a fresh set of mediums. So now that all this is unraveled for everybody, we're going to get a little bit of a grid reset. Francis McGinn is still your leader by almost 20 seconds over Nick Van Gelder. Bart Cadelda, that is not Van Gelder's car he is working on the back of. That is the lap car of Sam Brandt. Bart Cadelda running third. Rennie van der Stapp has worked his way back into fourth. Jorge Correa, his strategy has somehow panned out for him. He's now running fifth. Tim Hoffnagel running sixth in his second IRL race. He's out on the softs. Kevin Weston Edwards in seventh. Ivan Brito running a good race, working his way into the eighth position. Dion Stahl looks like he's got front wing damage. He may have run off, and he's going to head into the pits. So that's going to hand over the 10th or 9th spot to Jur Marusic. Dion Stahl getting a new front wing on the number 19 Scuderia Ferrari. New set of softs, and he's away. Foons Van Houten takes over the 10th spot. And Colin Higgins is going to come out. I don't think he's going to be close enough to Dion Stahl. He might be. Higgins goes around him. He picks up the 11th spot. Sandro Dulius coming across the line 13th. And Sam Brandt disappointingly running 14th. Jan Holmes is the only driver that's out. Crashed when it was wet. But we are going to pick up Bart Cadelda because Bart Cadelda is now less than 1.5 seconds to Nick Van Gelder for the second spot. And Cadelda has run a really interesting race. After falling all the way back to 7th on the opening lap, he's had to work his way through the field. This will be about the third time he's worked his way through the field after pitting. A little puff of smoke, a little bit of a lockup. This is going to be mediums versus softs as this track is starting to, it dried out a couple laps ago. And this is where, this is towards the back end here. You get a couple of more corners here, but Bart Cadelda in the slipstream of Van Gelder's car. He's going to get a little bit of aero wash in these windy sections here. But here's where Bart Cadelda's been making up a lot of his time is through the sweeping right-hander and out onto the backstretch. DRS has been enabled because of the drive. He is going to easily get around Nick Van Gelder for that second spot. Well, Van Gelder's not done with it, though. Lock up there from Cadelda. So Van Gelder gets the spot back. A little bit of a mistake by Bart Cadelda. Looks like he was going to try and turn in, and I think he might have saw how close Van Gelder was there. So good move by him to not cause a crash. Can he make the move in turn 1? Oh, very close. Almost right rear to left front. Van Gelder trying to hold him off as they go around the outside. You see he's making a lot of adjustments on the steering wheel. Oh, and he dives in late. Big lock up there and manages to get it slowed down. But Van Gelder is back on the inside of the next corner, sweeping around the outside as Cadelda just manages to get in front of him. And Van Gelder loses out a little bit there. Van Gelder's not done with him, I don't think, but I don't think his tires are going to have the grip. And you see Cadelda manages to pull away now, almost a second gap already. And now you're Cadelda's favorite part of the track, and he's going to easily pull out over a gap. Easily pull over at his second gap over Van Gelder. And he is out of DRS range. Tries to cut that corner very tight. And Dion Stahl and Colin Higgins are battling it out for the 11th spot. Looks like Dion Stahl just put Higgins another spot down. Oh, Higgins dives to the inside. Almost blew that corner. Dion Stahl with the crossover move, but can't make it work. And I'm going to say that was an accidental evasive move by Higgins to get that spot. And I think Dion Stahl was caught off guard by it a little bit. So, interesting move by Higgins to take back the 11th spot from him. Can Dion get it back? 10 laps to go in this, what has been a very interesting round 8 here at China. Very interesting races. It started in the wet. You see Dion Stahl now is on the inside of Higgins. They're side by side. It's a drag race down the backstretch. Dion Stahl had the DRS advantage coming across the timing line. Higgins to the outside. Sandro Dooley is starting to creep into this picture. And Colin Higgins he's like a little gnat that won't go away. Dion Stahl hasn't been able to get away from him. And Higgins has the DRS advantage as they head into turn 1. So Higgins putting up a little bit of a fight here for the 11th spot. It's a battle of pride right now. And it looks like Higgins is starting to get gapped a little bit by Dion Stahl, but he put up a scrappy little fight there for a lap and a half. I don't think he's completely done with it, but while these two have been battling it out, Sandro Dooley is starting to creep into the picture. A little bit of a twitch there by a Higgins car. And it's not often you see the Scuderias running outside of the point. They're running 11th and 13th. Oh, and Higgins cut that corner. Tries to get that power down. So now the battle's going to become for 12th. So pick up Sandro Doolius' feed. Oh, to the inside goes Sandro Doolius. Oh, and it's very tight as they get ready to come out of the backstretch. DRS advantage goes to Doolius. Higgins all the way down to the grass. Doolius pulls out just in time. Higgins is still on the inside. Oh, and he tried to take the line away, but Doolius gets around him on the outside, makes the move stick. And Higgins loses 2 spots in 2 laps, but not without a fight. I'll give it to Higgins for giving him an A for effort. Not entirely done. He's still within half a second of Doolius. So 8 laps to go. Francis McGinn is your leader. Francis McGinn is your leader. He's also your championship points leader. He's had quite a good year so far. Been very consistent running up front. Picked up his first pole, round 2 at Austria. He finished 5th that round. And after that, he's been on quite a tear. He won his first race of the year back in round 3 in Sochi. He picked up his second pole position there. He had his 3rd pole in a row at round 4 at Bahrain. Finished 3rd, picked up his 2nd podium of the year there. 4th pole in a row was Abu Dhabi at round 5, and he picked up his 2nd win. And then he picked up another pole in Australia. That was 5 in a row for him. So he had 5 poles in a row. And he did finish, in Australia, he did finish 12th, and that was his first DNF of the year. So he's got 6 poles this year, 4 podiums, 2 wins. I should say 4 podiums, 2 of them wins. And right now he is 22 seconds over Bart Godelda, the second spot. Nick Van Gelder looks like he's finally back to his old form. He started the year off with 3 straight podium finishes. Then he went quiet for a little while. He finished in the podium last round out at Singapore. Looks like he's on his way to picking up his second podium in a row. Rennie van der Stat gave it a good fight earlier in the race, but he's fallen 15 seconds behind Nick Van Gelder for the 3rd spot. So Rennie looks like he's on his way to finish 4th again. Seems to be his favorite finishing position this year. It'll be about the 3rd or 4th time he's finished 4th this year. Jorge Correa, we talked about his race strategy earlier today during qualifying, and it's actually panned out for him again today. He's had 3 DNFs in a row, so this is a good way to put some points on the board, finishing 5th if he can come home and bring it home with 7 laps to go. Tim Hoffnagel, been a little scrappy young fella today, put in a good effort, running 6th currently. Cameron Weston Edwards, we saw him scrap it out with Sandro Dulius most of the race. Finally gets to settle into the 7th spot. And then Ivan Brito, I don't want this to be lost because Ivan Brito has struggled all year. We've talked about it a couple times. 5 DNFs in 7 rounds. I don't think he's even finished in the points in the 2 rounds that he did finish. He was 11th. That was his first DNF of the year in round 1 in Germany. That was also a wet race. So this would be, I believe, Ivan Brito's first points finishing position of the year. So we look through the notes here. So yeah, this would be his first points-paying finish for him. So that's a big day for Ivan Brito. Jure Marusic quietly been running 9th. And Sandro Dulius has managed to work his way into the 10th position. So he'll at least pick up a championship point. He's got his teammate behind him, Dion Stahl. Stahl is on the soft tires. Sandro on the mediums. Not sure if we'll see a fight here for position. We are going to hop on board with Dion Stahl. Now these guys have been teammates since the inception of SRL. They've been the only constant in SRL aside from Sam Brandt. Sam Brandt's been there from the beginning as well, but these two have always been teammates with each other. They've always been Scuderia Ferrari with each other. And Dion Stahl knows he's the B driver, so I'm not sure if he'll fight Sandro for that points-paying position or not. I don't believe there's any team orders between these two. Right now, it looks like he's giving the point to Sandro. It looks like Dion is actually the faster car, but it looks like he's laying off a little bit. I think Dion knows that Sandro is in more of a championship fight and more in contention than Dion himself is. But it looks like Sandro is struggling with grip. See, the back end is kicked out on his car a couple of times. I'm not sure what happened to Frans van Houten. Frans van Houten was running in the 10th spot. He may have made an extra stop. 3 stops versus 2 for the Ferrari, so he may have made that stop to get on the softs. And it looks like Dion is laid off a little bit. He has fallen outside of DRS range, and I don't think that's because Sandro's the faster driver right now. I think that's Dion being a good teammate. Well, and Sandro runs very wide in that corner there. It looks like he's struggling on his tires a bit. So I think Sandro's getting a little bit of a gift there from his teammate Dion Stahl for that championship point. Meanwhile, Francis McGinn is out front all by his lonesome. He has been for most of the race. Be Francis's third win of the year here in SRL. And you can definitely check out more SRL action. Like and subscribe and comment to the YouTube page and check out previous races, prior seasons races. You can also like, subscribe, and comment to Sandro Julius's page where he has an onboard feed posted to every race. And next round will be round 9. We'll be doing the European Grand Prix in Azerbaijan. That'll be round 9. That'll be that should be next week for that. And if you want to check out more racing action, you be sure to be sure to check out the SRL website. The link is in the description below. But be sure to check that out for news and information on the drivers and the standings. And you can also check out more racing action with IRL. We talked about IRL a little bit earlier today, but IRL is going to be running F2. That's the International Racing League. They're going to be running F2 later today. Actually, after this race ends, about an hour later, F2 for IRL kicks off. And they are going to be running... Where are they at today? They're going to be running Abu Dhabi for F2. And then later today, there probably won't be a feed for it, but IRL is going to be running their GT3 league race on Gran Turismo Sport at Circuit de Barcelona de Catalunya. And you can also check out IRL online, International Racing League-IRL.com. And then tomorrow at 11:15, you can check me out commentating for IRL as they run the F1 league race at Abu Dhabi tomorrow. So that's a race weekend full of action for you YouTubers out there. I have been racing in the GT3 League. I don't think I'm going to make the race today, unfortunately. 5th in points. Hopefully I stay that way after missing the race. And we'll see what happens there. As this race winds down, your Marusic has quietly been sneaking in on Ivan Dorito for the 8th spot. This will be your closest battle on track as it unfolds with a couple of laps to go. So Ivan Brito running 8th. It's his best race of the year so far. Your Marusic starting to reel him in. Brito would be smart to not try and fight him off too much. Would really like to see Brito finish a race and put some points on the board. 9th is better than a DNF. And now Marusic is half a second to him. And you see one of the Force Indies in the background. That is Francis McGinn closing in on this battle. These two are going to become lap cars. So can Marusic make the move on Brito before Francis McGinn gets there and blue flags become a factor? Oh, and Foons van Houten has retired from the session. He was running 14th. Not sure if he crashed out or if he decided to call it a day. Marusic is there. He's only going to have a couple more laps to try and make a move to get around him to pick up an extra spot. McGinn runs very wide coming out of that last corner. No reason for McGinn to be pushing. He's 25 seconds ahead. And here we go. Marusic to the inside with the DRS. Oh, and he clips the left front. I'm sorry, the left rear. The left rear to the right front of Brito's car. Not sure if that gave Brito any wing damage. It doesn't look like there's any problems with the wing endlets. But here comes McGinn. McGinn's now going to be on the back of this battle. And Brito very wisely moves aside, lets McGinn go, gives up on the battle. Smart move by Ivan Brito. So that should put Ivan Brito securely in the 9th position as we pick up Francis McGinn. Now that's Jure Marusic in front of him. Jure's going to have to get out of the way here. It looks like he'll probably move out of the way and let McGinn go by. And Ivan Brito, actually, you see Sam Brandt come out of the pits one more time. But Ivan Brito doesn't look like he might be done with Jure Marusic. Last lap. Can Brito get to the back end of Jure Marusic, try and make a last-ditch effort to pick up that 8th spot and get it back from him? He's almost in DRS range. That would be a huge help as they get to the backstretch, a very long backstretch, kind of the hairpin. He's almost within DRS range. They're going to be coming up on there just down to Sector 2. A couple of more corners, and it's going to be that big sweeping right-hander, and you're going to want to be close enough to the back end of that Red Bull. Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to get that DRS advantage. And here we pick up Francis McGinn. Coming across the line, he's going to pick up his 3rd win of the year. Jure Marusic comes across the line 8th, Ivan Brito 9th. Congratulations to him for getting in the points, finishing a race. Sam Brandt will come across the line in 13th. And here comes Bart Cadelda, who has driven through the field multiple times today to get that 2nd spot, and then subsequently crashes coming across the line. I'm pretty sure there's a rule against that. I will have to double check with the stewards after the race, but I think that's frowned upon. And here comes Van Gelder to pick up the 3rd spot. Rennie van der Stappen will come across 4th. Jorge Correa will come across 5th. Tim Hofnagel actually had a battle going there with Cameron Weston-Edwards towards the end. Edwards was actually closing the gap into him for 7th. So congratulations to Francis McGinn picking up his 3rd win of the year, his 4th podium finish overall. Bart Cadelda comes home 2nd. And another solid finish for Nick Van Gelder, who has quietly been trying to stay in championship contention with these podium finishes. He's yet to get to the top step, but he's got 5 podiums this year. So here's your finishing order as the rain has come back to China. Francis McGinn, Bart Cadelda. Rennie van der Stappen actually gets your 3rd spot away from Nick Van Gelder, I'm going to assume because of time penalties. So Rennie van der Stappen does come home with his 1st podium finish of the year. Congratulations to him. Nick Van Gelder, Jorge Correa, Tim Hofnagel, Cameron Weston-Edwards, Jure Marusic, Ivan Brito with his 1st points paying finish of the year. Sandra Dooley's manages to get 10th. Dion Stahl 11th. Colin Higgins 12th. Shan Brandt 13th. Foons Van Houten and Jan Holm are the only two to not finish the race. So a little bit of a turn of events there. Was unaware of the 5-second penalty that Nick Van Gelder had. So congratulations to Rennie Vanderstadt picking up his first podium finish of the year. Thought he was going to get 4th again. So congratulations to him. And again, I want everybody to be sure to check out SRL online. The description is in the link is in the description. Like, subscribe, and comment to the SRL YouTube channel. Check out previous seasons and previous races. Check them out next week when they go to Azerbaijan. And you can also check out IRL, International Racing League, on YouTube as well. They'll be doing the F2 race later today, and they'll be doing F1 tomorrow. And we've actually got Nick Van Gelder joining us. Nick, I thought you had another podium finish. Wasn't aware you had a time penalty.
Yeah, I can't believe it, really. By the way, hopefully I won't disturb you or something, but yeah. It was like on the final lap, I had about a 16-second lead on René van der Stap, and so I was like, let's have a bit of fun. Let's try to go for a fast lap. I had saved some fuel in the ERS, so I started pushing on the final lap. Completely lost the back end coming out of turn 4, I think. So it was my front wing. I was really lucky not to end my race because I was really afraid of losing a wheel or something when I hit the wall. But luckily, I only lost my front wing. But you know, I had a 15-second gap and I had a 5-second stop-go penalty from cutting a corner, which was a little bit weird because usually it's 3 seconds. But okay, I was like, oh, just drive it home now. I don't. That was really unnecessary. But yeah, René was just 9 tenths in front of me on the line, and I don't know, it was a pretty strange penalty because I had 2 warnings for exceeding track limits, and I cut the hairpin after the back straight, the penultimate corner. I just slightly cut it, and it gave me a 5-second stop and go, while usually it gives you a 3-second penalty. So yeah, I don't know why that was, but I will see if the stewards will maybe change something about that. But it was quite a crazy race. You know, of course, starting in intermediate conditions and going to dry conditions halfway through. And Francis McGinn and Bart Corelda actually, well, Francis stayed out and Bart actually pitted in front of me, and Francis and I stayed out until the dry period. So I was happy about that. But yeah, I was really, expecting to get a podium after with just a few laps to go because I had such a big lead. And I was just driving it home. But yeah, I just started pushing on the final lap to get a fast lap and pay the ultimate prize for it.
Trying to get that bonus point for fastest lap, and it cost you a whole position.
Yeah. So
moving forward, do you think Azerbaijan's going to be a place where you can get back onto the podium, or is that just going to be is that not one of your better tracks?
To be honest, Azerbaijan is a track that I don't really like. And I'm usually not very quick around there, so it's going to be very, very difficult to achieve a podium there. I'll do my best, but it's going to be tough. I think Azerbaijan is one of my weakest tracks on the calendar.
Interesting race today for sure. Well, I mean, we congratulate you on your 4th place finish. Too bad about the 3rd, but definitely have the report it to the stewards and see what happens. But as it stands right now, 4th, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that you would have gotten your 5th podium of the year.
Yeah, same. But yeah, that's how things happen. And it was my own mistake, so yeah, can't blame anything apart from myself.
Well,
yeah, it's an interesting championship as well.
Because it's so close with Francis. You standing? Because Francis is the points leader, correct?
Yeah, he will take over the lead in the championship, and I think Sandro is also very close, although I don't know where he finished in this race.
10th today, unfortunately. I think
okay.
He struggled a couple times, lost his front wing, and I think towards the end there, I think his teammate gave him a gift by giving him the 10th place spot, so only picks up the 1 point today, unfortunately.
Yeah, so Francis will indeed take over the lead in the championship, but yeah, it's quite close still and quite interesting, and I'm interested to see how it will play out in the upcoming races. But yeah, thanks for having me in the stream for a bit. And
Absolutely. We look forward
yeah,
to Azerbaijan, and again, everybody can check that out next round, next week, and be sure to check out SRL online, and be sure to like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube page. But that is going to do it for us for now. I want to thank Nick Van Gelder for being here with us, and see if he can get that podium back from Rennie Vanderstapp. So we'll see you guys at the next round.